Hello everybody, welcome to Urtuk the Desolation Beginner's Guide for just talking about the human starting characters and the starting mutators and my thought process behind what to pick. Now just a preface, I am not an expert at this game. If you are a beast at Urtuk and you want to call me out, please do so. Please tell me how I'm wrong and how I can improve, because I would love to know that. I really welcome that below if you actually have some other insight, and kind of make this a discussion. But for those people who are new, I think I know enough to where this can get you on your feet, and then you'll maybe, outgrow this video and learn your own opinions, and maybe they'll be contradictory, and that's fine. But let's get into it. So Urtuk is your main character. If Urtuk dies, the game is over. So you need Urtuk to be something that doesn't die all the time. So, what I've seen, and this is your starting three. Priest Urtuk probably works. I haven't used the Priest too much, so I can't be. I don't know the cool strats for Priest. But Priest is pretty good. I don't know how good it is early game when you don't have all the super max HP. Javanier is good. I like ranged Urtuk because you get good damage and you don't have to die all the time because you're in the back. You do have lower HP because you're a ranged unit, but that is not necessarily a bad thing. Because you're not going to hit as much. Javelineers are an amazing units, so having a good goated Javelineer could be a strong buff. Similarly, Hunter. I've done Hunter Urtuk. I do like Hunter Urtuk. There's not much of an issue with Hunter Urtuk. Bear Trap is good. It gives you more survivability. You have more range, so you can stay farther away than the Javelineer has to, and thus you have theoretically higher survivability. I believe you have lower DPS than a Javelineer does, though. So that's kind of your trade-off between those two. Guardian. I don't like Guardian Urtuk, because I'm going to have a Guardian anyway, and they are super tanky. And as I described in my intro to Urtuk video, is that Urtuk's mutations, which he will get throughout the game, oftentimes boost things that a tank doesn't necessarily want, like damage or whatever. Some of them are so good, and if you have to use that on a guy who just wants HP and stam, then you're kind of missing out. So not that the Guardian is a bad unit. I think the Guardian is an amazing unit. I don't think it's a good Urtuk unit. The Blood Knight, I think, is kind of weak. He's probably good with a skill ceiling. I think the skill ceiling for the Blood Knight, same with the Priest, I guess, is high. And thus, I don't think you should start out with Blood Knight Urtuk. I think you would not like that. Assassin is also pretty vulnerable. The Assassin, I think you will get killed with when you're starting the game out, because he has an extra movement and he likes to backstab, which means you will get him into really weird positions and he might die very quickly by getting surrounded and crit and then like stunned by some guy with a hammer. And I don't think Assassin Urtuk is good for a beginner if you're just trying to learn the game. As you get more experienced, yeah, you could probably do Assassin Urtuk very well, but I don't think you want to start with that. This is a meme. Warmonk is kind of similar to my Assassin, where he will jump with his jump ability to really weird positions, and he will not be very good. Once you get to a later part of the game, where you start fighting different units like Swampers and Beasts more, you will find that his flip ability, which is his signature ability, doesn't work anymore because their enemies are immune. Or not necessarily Swampers, but other late game enemies are going to be immune to this. So he falls off late game. So having your main guy do that is not a good thing. Footman is good as well. This is more of a support unit. A lot of Footman damage comes from ramming people into death pits and ramming them into walls and spikes. So his raw damage is actually quite shit. Although you get some good stam. Not necessarily the worst thing, and a Footman is almost always picked for humans because Ram ignores Stalwart, which is a very strong anti-movement trait. So you want a Footman, but again, I don't know if you necessarily want an Urtuk Footman all the time. Berserker, I think, is kind of similar in the skill ceiling sort of way. to like assassin or priest, I think he comes on late game. He has a lot of really good abilities that come out with late game traits that you will not have in the beginning. So if you want to baby the berserker, that would be okay. But again, not, which isn't a bad thing, but if you're just playing to begin with, you're not going to get to that late game. Maybe you don't want to start with a guy who doesn't come online for the beginning. Spearman is kind of similar to the Guardian in that he's like a tank unit. And we're back to the start. So I think best Urtuks for humans are probably like Hunter, Jav, arguably Berserker, but I don't think that's good for like an early game only, which is where you're gonna start. Maybe like possibly Priest, maybe Footman. I can go Jav. Other things, I like having a Guardian early on to tank things. A Guardian or a Spearman. I think a Guardian is more important because you can spear everything. Or sorry, you can shield everything, and that is incredibly useful for you. I like the Footman as well, which is what I did in my intro guide. Because you get some movement attacks. You get more movement with the bash. The bash on the Guardian is really useful, and then the ram on the Footman is useful. So you get multiple ways to kill enemies. You could alternatively go with War Monk, as opposed to like maybe not Footman, you can go War Monk. I like the Footman more, but that's just me. This is what I would say, this and like Hunter. This is probably a really good starting lineup that I would run most of the time, and I feel very comfortable with this lineup for humans. But we'll go with this just for the hell of it. Looking at mutators. Don't pick medicine. I'm not very good at the game, and I'm still not using medicine that much on veteran. So I imagine if I use it on epic, I will use it more, but I will still not run out that much. So this is bait. Improviser is really good. If you have like a hunter, improviser is great on this because he gets crit. So if you improvise, give yourself crit, and then give somebody else crit with your focus pool, that's really strong. Action Man, I guess is the same thing for the hunter, but on like a Javelineer, you might want Action Man instead, because he gets that critical strike for the next attack, and then he gets his pool, which he can give to somebody else. Lightfoot is one of the best abilities in the game because it allows you to swap without ending your turn. Ranged units start with Lightfoot, as does like the Priest, I think. So they don't have to have it, which is a good another reason to have Urtuk ranged unit, because you get free Lightfoot. But Lightfoot on these other two is, I don't think, ever going to be a bad pick. If you have something like an Assassin, you might want things like Bleeding Criticals, Poisonous Criticals, Tagging Criticals. Although you could also put that on your Javelineer or Hunter as well. I think it doesn't hurt to also have something like Monster Heart for your tank, or maybe if you have an Assassin that might Monster Heart, give him a little bit more survivability. I don't think you necessarily need it. It's not a bad pick though. You might just want to pick something like one of the crits, and then you could put that on your ranged unit. That, I think, is probably the best way to go about this for humans. Of course, difficulty. I started on veteran. Well, I started on epic when I very first started, and that went kind of bad, kind of fine. Went to epic, and I basically almost like bronze man is the term or something, like almost Iron Man my way to veteran, to the end game. Maybe 80% Iron Man, and then epic I'm gonna start like soon, and I don't think it's that much worse. It's a 10% stat reduction, so go with probably veteran before you hit epic. I wouldn't necessarily start on these, because if you're gonna go up, then it's probably better to just start on a higher difficulty. You can even start on epic if you want, if you're a beast. In any case, though, that is my beginning guide for Urtuk humans. Other things I'll talk about more when I have played them, but I hope you found this helpful, and I'll see you guys around. Peace out.